Hello and welcome to Saffron Planet. Today we have a special guest, an international speaker, Justin Peters. Justin is travelling the world with a seminar program called A Call for Discernment. And Justin's big subject is the faith and prosperity teachers. So this is what we're going to be talking about in our own manner and way. And we're going to go right into it with just looking at a few of the personalities involved. And we have one here. It's a picture here, but it's a Benny Hinn. Everyone has seen Benny Hinn. Okay. Benny Hinn, what can we say? I mean, he's got an amazing following, very rich. Does that mean that God is blessing everything that he's doing?
No, actually, it does not. There's a common logical fallacy among many people that as long as someone's ministry is growing or they have a large following, then that means that God must be blessing that ministry, and that's just logically untenable, because the Bible tells us as the time grows closer for Christ's return, there will be an apostasy, there will be a falling away. So just because a movement is large and it's growing does not necessarily mean that God is the source of that growth. If that were sound logic, then we would have to say God is giving his blessing and approval to Islam. Because Islam is exploding in Europe. It's the fastest growing religion in the United States. So, yeah, bad logic.
Do you think people that say, it started off well and now he's just gone a bit wrong, but he started off well and he has been used by God, he's just got it a bit wrong? So I've heard people say that about various people. They say, they started off good, but then they went wrong. Is that a true argument, or is it just that they've really shown their true colours later on, if that makes sense?
I think with some of these individuals, they may have begun with some honorable intentions, but they've become intoxicated by the money and the power that goes along with their position. And once you get off the straight and narrow, once you start deviating a little bit, if you continue in that error, error begets error, and it's a snowball effect. And
so you get to the point where they can't even see it themselves, and it's like it's too big a juggernaut that's got going, and they just can't stop it. So they have to just carry on.
Yes. Paul says in 2 Timothy 3, he talks about those those false teachers that will grow from bad to worse, deceiving and being deceived.
Yeah. Right.
So,
do you think that, for example, Benny Hinn, do you think he knows that he's not right? Do you think it's a knowledgeable attempt to get money, or do you think he genuinely thinks he's doing the right thing?
That is one of the most common questions I get asked, and I don't have a cut and dry answer for it, but my best understanding, as long as I've been studying him and others like him, is that I think at some level there is a part of Benny Hinn that thinks he is doing the right thing. Right. I think there is some sincerity there. Of course, sincerity is not the issue. Truth is the issue. But I think there's a part of him that is sincere, but at the same time, I know from having studied him for so many years, that he knowingly lies to people. He knowingly deceives. The people that he claims are healed up on his stage, he knows they're not healed. When he says in his book that he went into a hospital in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, Canada, and everyone in the hospital was healed. Well, that's been proven to be factually wrong. He knows that. So at some level, he might think he's doing the right thing, but then again, there is also a large part of him that knows he is lying.
So there's no sort of documentary evidence that he can provide for any specific healing. Then, I mean, hasn't he ever been taken to court by anyone? I mean,
no. It's very difficult to take someone like him over to court, because under freedom of religion, you have a very wide berth. If it's my religion to say, if you give me $1,000, God will heal you of your disease. If I believe that and you believe me, and you're foolish enough to give me your $1,000, but you're not healed, you can't sue me, because that's my religion. That's what I believe, and that's what you say you believe. So there's now, if I were to say it's my religion that you should go rob a bank and give me the money, then we're in some legal trouble. But apart from that, no.
Up to now we've said some rather sort of nasty things about Mr. Hinn, but we haven't actually, I don't know, we need to get to the heart of what their problem is, because obviously these people have got a massive following, and they're hearing or watching us saying these things about him and saying, but we watch his program. He's a man of God. He does this, he does that. What is their main, Benny Hinn and the Copelands and all that? What is their main fault from sort of an Orthodox Christian point of view? Where's their main heresy? The way you would say it.
The main heresy is that they hold to a theological structure known as Word of Faith, which is not clear thinking charismatics. It's Word of Faith is a different animal. It's the Word of Faith movement has its roots in the metaphysical cults like Christian Science, New Age, New Thought, Gnosticism. And so what we have in the Word of Faith movement is basically some cultic doctrines, cultic ideas that have been wrapped in Christian terminology to make it more acceptable to people. But Word of Faith theology has a very distorted view of the nature of God, the nature of man, the person and work of Jesus Christ. Some of what they teach is right, but there's enough error mixed in with it that it corrupts the whole thing.
Is there sort of a league table of... So we've got here a few pictures of a few of the preachers. Are some of them as bad as others? There's two examples that people would want us to talk about. One is Joyce Meyer, and the other one is Joel Osteen, who seem to have some good points in their favour, as well as the bad ones. And I wonder, would you actually call both of them faith and prosperity teachers primarily?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Even Joyce Meyer?
Even Joyce Meyer.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I have a video clip of Joyce Meyer, and she calls herself a faith preacher, so she would label herself as such. It's not me putting the label on her. She calls herself a faith preacher. She is friends with Benny Hinn. She endorses Kenneth Copeland's ministry. Joel Osteen, she is endorsed. Recently preached at his church. She's had him on his program. So, yes, it's kind of birds of a feather.
So it's like a sort of a secret society. Do they all meet up in private and say, what heresy are we going to bring up this time?
Do you think do you think, like, unlike Benny Hinn, who you said seems to know that what he says is wrong? I mean, I remember a few years ago watching Joel Osteen ages ago, and he didn't seem to do any of the miraculous type healing type thing. It was just that his preaching was very man-centered. So do you think Joel Osteen's just a little bit too self-help without really knowing it, rather than false miracles, false healings? From what I know, I don't think Joel Osteen's had any healing type, revival type things. He just preaches that you can have victory in your finances.
It's like psychology he uses, isn't it?
Your best life now.
Yeah, making people feel good. That seems to be his thing.
Well, tickling ears, isn't it? It's like
But he
a
doesn't-
lot
yeah.
of preachers, they say the things what people want to hear instead of things what you really need to hear.
That's what he does. Yeah.
Possibly
Yeah.
he wants to hear them as well himself.
Yeah.
It's the things that he
Yeah.
wants to
Yeah,
hear.
but Joel Osteen, you don't see him zapping people on the stage, do you?
No,
Doesn't-
no,
he doesn't go that far,
totally
does he?
different way.
No.
doesn't he?
Or Joyce Meyer.
No, he's not known, nor is Meyer per se known for, actually having a healing line and knocking, slaying people in the spirit, whatnot. But they both do teach guaranteed physical healing as long as you have enough faith. So he may not be actually doing some of the theatrics of Benny Hinn, but he still teaches the same
So a lot
thing.
of these preachers, they're all on a different sort of scale, but it's all the same thing. It's all the shallow end, the deep end. Some people require the shallow end of being misguided, and other people need a deeper version of it. It seems like there's a whole spectrum that's being dealt with by the enemy.
Right.
So each one of these, do they all have their own slight emphasis on?
Yeah, I would say
Yeah.
each one is probably known, has his or her own unique little.
Kenneth and Gloria.
Yeah. Kenneth and Gloria. What are their big sort of problems?
As far as a classical Word of Faith theological structure, Kenneth and Gloria Copeland would be probably the epitome of today's Word Faith preachers. And Kenneth Copeland learned much of what he teaches now from Kenneth Hagin, who passed away 7 years ago. But Kenneth Copeland is known for some of the most blasphemous statements you could possibly imagine ever to be uttered by someone who calls himself
Any
a Christian.
examples? Have you got any examples?
Oh,
of that you could
sure.
mention?
Kenneth Copeland has said, he said, when I read in the Bible where it says I am, I just smile and I say I am too.
Right.